Hyperloop kurucu ortağı Dirk Ahlborn geliyor. Are you ready?
Good.
And we're listening to you. Please.
Do you have the remote by any chance?
Switcher nerede arkadaşlar? The switcher? I think it's right over there. Let me check.
All right, anyways, good afternoon, everybody. As you just heard, my name is Dirk Ahlborn.
Oh, here it is.
And now I have a clicker. Awesome.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So my name is Dirk Ahlborn, and I'm the founder and chairman of Hyperloop Transportation Technologies. And we say that we move at the speed of sound. We transform transportation at the speed of sound. So, what is Hyperloop? Who here actually knows what a Hyperloop really is? Anybody? All right, I'm going to test you guys later. For everybody else, there's a little video that explains to you a little bit how everything works. So enjoy.
Imagine a capsule. Imagine a capsule that can carry people. Placed inside a depressurized tube, the air removed to eliminate resistance. Not traveling on rails, but actually levitating above them. Capable of reaching airplane speeds and beyond on the ground. This is a Hyperloop, and it is amazing. Even more amazing, at Hyperloop Transportation Technologies, we haven't been imagining, we've been building for the better part of 5 years. And amazing is where we started. We're transforming the passenger experience, putting comfort and safety at the center of everything we're doing. Our reimagined linear electric motor is powered by sustainable solar energy, propelling the capsule on a completely new, incredibly efficient passive levitation system. With these two breakthroughs, our system is capable of giving energy back to the grid. And when something didn't exist, we invented it. Introducing Vibranium, a composite material that monitors speed, capsule integrity, and atmospheric condition in real time, a new benchmark in passenger safety. And we're not done. Our team of over 800 strong, a worldwide intellectual ecosystem of thinkers and problem solvers, tackle each day with the humble goal of changing the world. With its speed and efficiency, the Hyperloop will rewrite the rules of travel and mobility. But that's just one side of the story. There's another side that will have a far greater impact. It's the side that redefines how we connect with one another. Where distant friends become neighbors, countries become neighborhoods. And everybody who inhabits this big, crazy world of ours grows a little closer together. Just imagine that.
Thank you. So, just to reiterate, what is a Hyperloop? Imagine a capsule, basically an airplane without wings, hovering inside a tube and moving really, really fast, just below the speed of sound, from one point to the other. Inside this tube, we're creating a low-pressure environment, which means we have vacuum pumps along the track that take the air out. So that the capsule, similar to an airplane that goes into high altitudes, can move fast with very little energy. The whole system is completely green. We use solar, wind, kinetic energy, so regenerative braking, and depending on the climate, even geothermal. To produce, and of course this depends a little bit where we're building, but even more energy than we're consuming. And this is a very important part, not only because we all want to be green, but you see, there's a big problem when it comes to trains and metros, and that is that they don't make economic sense. They all rely heavily on government subsidies. So your taxpayer money. The Hyperloop, because we have very low operational costs and we produce our own energy, is able to recover the initial investment in a very short time span and even produce additional revenues. So it can actually be financed privately. and that's a game changer. So, why do we need what we call the fifth mode of transportation? Well, this is why. Traffic, right? And I know you know very well what I'm talking about here in Istanbul. So we spend a lot of time in traffic. Time that, well, we could be more productive, or maybe more importantly, we could be with the people we care about. Traffic is so important that based on where we live, we decide where we work. Think about that. In Los Angeles, and I assume it's the same here in Istanbul, you even decide who you date, because if she lives on the other side of the city, it's probably not going to work out. Well, and then we have Beijing on a sunny day. On a bad day, you can't even see your hand in front of your face. It has gotten a little bit better lately, but when we think about pollution, we always think about China or India, but in reality, it's a problem all over that we have. You here in Istanbul are, on average, I think, losing roughly 18 months of your life because of pollution. Now, of course, transportation is only a small part of that, but it's important enough that governments around the world are moving to cleaner alternatives. Well, and then we have the railroad industries. They're literally what we would call a dinosaur industry. They haven't changed much. They're basically still the same they used to be several hundred years ago, right? So these are standard railroad tracks. The distance between those tracks is 1 meter 43.5. Anybody here knows why? No? The Roman carriage. So this is how all over the world we're building new infrastructure. So basically in 2019, we are building new infrastructure based on the butt of 2 horses. That's how much innovation we have done here. But we can do better. We can build systems that are faster, safer. Well, and then what I already mentioned earlier, it doesn't make economical sense. This is an example of the Los Angeles Metro, where they're making roughly 76 cents per passenger, and $2.50 are coming from taxpayer money. And it's like that all over the world, you know. Germany spends roughly $23 billion to maintain their rail network. America, China, even much, much more. So this is one of the biggest problems that we're having. So how would our lives be if we had a Hyperloop? Well, another problem we're having are airports, right? We're often there at capacity, and we're building more and more of them. With a Hyperloop, we would be able to connect these airports, and they would become terminals. Or, you know, often they're built very close to the city, so now we would be able to build them much further out, 100, 200 kilometers away, and still be there within just minutes. When we talk about freight, I think earlier we saw a small video about the Silk Road, right? We would be able to get goods from China to Europe to Turkey within hours, rather than within weeks. We would be able to deliver in most parts of the country from just one central warehouse within 1 hour. And that's a game changer. We would be able to create literally an on-demand economy. But most people get excited about this. Most people get excited to live in one place and work in another, right? You live in Istanbul, you work in Ankara, for example. Or another big problem is that everybody wants to live in the city center. And we're building satellite cities, smaller cities outside, but nobody wants to live there. Now with a Hyperloop, you could have these cities outside, have a much nicer life, cheaper, and still be in the city center within minutes. We'll be able to create what we call mega regions, right? We change the way we live. The change here, I think, is probably as big as it was when the railroads came. in the 1800s. It changes completely the dynamics of what a city looks like. So how are we building the Hyperloop? When we looked at this idea, which is not a new idea, it has been around for quite some time, we actually found out the technology already exists. It's nothing really new. So we already know how to build a train. We know how to make a train levitate. We know how to build a capsule that can move inside a low-pressure environment. Airplanes are basically just exactly that. We know how to build tubes. We're building many, many hundreds of thousands of kilometers of tubes. We know how to build pylons. We know how to create a vacuum inside those tubes. This is a picture of the CERN particle accelerator in Switzerland. And the vacuum inside those tubes is 100,000 times more difficult to maintain than the one that we are using. And the company responsible for that is actually part of our team, labeled Vacuum. Alternative energy is a very safe bet. It's getting better and better and cheaper every single year. So today we know that we can cover our complete energy cost in California, for example, with the latest solar technology. But tomorrow, it's going to be cheaper and even better. But we're doing something else a little bit different. We're building a company in a completely different way. You see, normally when you're talking about a train or a metro, this is where it's happening, behind closed doors. Well, we do something that we call crowdstorming. And with crowdstorming, what we really mean is that we have a unique opportunity. We have the opportunity to build a transportation system the way it should be done in 2020. Because let's be honest, it doesn't work, right? When you take a train, when you take a plane, it's not a great experience. Nobody really likes and enjoys to be traveling. You like to get to destination, but not everything that's in between. But we can do better. We can come up with much better ways. So we need to ask questions. We need to ask questions like, do we need a ticket? And not only do we need a paper ticket, but is a ticket the right way to make money? Or is there a better way that we can monetize? What is the business model about traveling, for example? So I give you an example. When you think about marketing, we're spending billions of dollars to get people to places so that they can spend their money. But when it comes to traveling, you're inside a train, inside a car, or inside a plane for hours, and nobody really tries to entertain you while making money. Nobody tries to make you use your time in a better way. So we're able to change things and come up with new ideas with an ecosystem of innovators, just like the ones you have outside of these doors. But the most important part is to have the passenger in mind, right? It needs to be centered on the passenger. So it's not all about just making money, it needs to be a value on both sides. One of these things are our virtual windows. So we have a problem inside the Hyperloop. We don't have windows. We're inside a tube, it's closed. So we're using standard, basically, screens. And these screens, they have a camera, and the camera sees where you're looking, and it moves the image based on the movement of your head to give you the illusion to look outside of a window. So now you can be inside a Hyperloop, or if you have trouble imagining that, imagine a subway, and you go through Terminator Land, Jurassic World, Game of Thrones, right? For you, it's an experience, but for the transportation company, it's actually a way of generating income. So why are we working like this? Why are we using crowdstorming? Well, when Elon Musk proposed this idea, I was part of a non-profit incubator that was funded by NASA. And we are working on a new way on how to build businesses. You see, today we do everything online. Right? You get your groceries online, you can get your dry cleaning online, you can find your boyfriend, girlfriend online. In America, in the US, you can even get divorced online. But when it comes to building a business, it's mostly you together with a friend, sitting at a bar, talking about this big problem that you want to solve. And often you start working on it, and 6 months later you realize that nobody actually has this problem. Or maybe you realize that you can't figure out how to make money. Most businesses fail for lack of insight and lack of experience. But what if you could have 1, 10, 100, or maybe even 1,000 people that have the same passion that you have, that give you their honest opinion, their ideas, their contacts? You're able to build a better company. So we built a platform. And, well, when I heard that Elon Musk said that he didn't want to build it because he was too busy with Tesla and SpaceX and he wanted someone else to pick it up, we asked for permission. We thought it was a perfect fit to try out this new model. And so we asked for permission to put it on the platform. And we asked our community, should we be doing this? And not only did they say, yes, you should be doing this, but they said, hey, I want to be part of this. So we incorporated the company, got a small team together, and said, everybody who would like to join us and work in exchange for stock options in the company, please apply. We got around 200 applications, got a team together of roughly 100 engineers, and started working on the feasibility study. Because we didn't really know if this was even possible. Today, we're over 800 people all around the world. In addition to roughly 50 companies, partners that are working with us on this and are investing in the project. And we have made a lot of progress. And these people are not, you know, sitting in a chat room or so. They're organized in teams. 3 to maximum 7 people. They have their deadlines, their deliverables. So they need to perform. The minimum of 10 hours, but many are actually working much more. And many of the corporates are doing exactly the same. So rather than having to, you know, pay someone or hire someone that knows about vacuum, we have the inventor of the vacuum pump, labeled Vacuum, as part of our team. So the guys that actually developed this technology, the latest technology that makes this possible, we can call them, we can work together with them, and they're receiving equity for their IP and their knowledge. And many, many other companies as well. And as you can see, they're all leaders in their field. This whole model, by the way, has been a Harvard case study, so you can download the Harvard case study. Harvard started teaching it roughly a year and a half ago, and if you're an entrepreneur, I really encourage you to learn about it. Because, you see, when we looked at this, we realized that it was perfect. We realized that we had to do more than just build a company. We had to build a movement. And that's exactly what it is today. Today, you have several companies trying to do this. You have many universities participating at the SpaceX competition. You hear about Hyperloop everywhere. And that's what makes it possible to do the impossible. And I think every company should be a movement. Your company should be a movement. So take a look. It's really amazing. We are what I would call a global company. So we are global, all around the world. We have offices in Los Angeles, in Brazil, in France, in Spain, in Slovakia, in the Emirates. But we are local at the same time. We are French as much as we are American. We're Italian as much as we're Turkish. We're Chinese as much as we're Canadian. We have local team members everywhere that know the local markets, that can introduce us, and we can work with the local population in order to figure out what are the problems that we really need to solve. These are most of the projects that we're working on. As you can see, they're quite a lot. We just finished a big feasibility study in America between Cleveland, Chicago, and Pittsburgh, which came out very positive, has been done together with 80 different stakeholders between different states. And it showed that the system makes money, which is the first time in 30 years that the company doing the feasibility study actually were able to say something similar. It creates 900,000 jobs. not related to building the system or operating the system, but just in addition for the local economy. It creates an increase in salary, if you want so, in income of roughly 40%, and it even brings up the property values more or less another 40%. When it comes to CO2, it reduces the CO2 almost to half. So the results are very, very amazing. But in addition to that, we have been working quite a lot, as you can see, so all around the world. We have our R&D center in Toulouse. This is where we are putting everything together. We're building the world's complete first prototype. All the integration is being done there. The technologies have been tested, but they need to be brought together completely at full scale. In Germany, in Hamburg, we're partnering with the Port of Hamburg, HHLA, the operator, to build a solution for the movement of containers outside of ports. Because of course, it's not only passengers, it's also freight. And it's actually a very, very important part. But the most important projects, I would say, are in China and in the Emirates, where we already have agreements for commercial lines. In Abu Dhabi, in Al Ghadir, we already started our design process, and we are now getting ready to build the world's first complete passenger Hyperloop, which is kind of one of the next steps. So when people are always asking, when are we finally see this technology? The good answer is, it's happening now. It's not something where you can say, well, I saw this guy speaking, one day my kids might travel inside a tube. No, it's actually something that is possible today. And we have been quite busy over the last almost now 6 years. We have been working with many governments around the world. We have developed technologies, scouted technologies, worked and done partnerships all around the world, and we're ready to build. Parts of it has been already built. We started building our capsule, which is the world's first full-scale passenger Hyperloop capsule in the world. It has been built in Spain and presented to the world. You can see a little bit the dimensions here. So you realize it's not just something small. This is like building an airplane. So it's a pressure vessel. In fact, our partners at Caburis, they're now called Artificial, they're normally building airplane fuselages for Boeing and Airbus. So this is able to go inside a low pressure environment, and that's very important. I'm just skipping because of time, a little bit the videos, but you can see there has been quite a lot that has happened. We have a complete full-scale truck in our test center in Toulouse. We have the vacuum system, we have the passenger capsule, and now everything is brought together to get you the world's first passenger Hyperloop. But there's still a big problem. Because of course you're going to say, well, you know, people are working, money, you already have all these projects, but you see, there's one big problem, and that is that there's no Hyperloop yet. It's not an airplane and it's not a train. So what you need is, you need to create new laws and legislations. You need to create regulation. And we have been quite busy on that front. We have been working together with TÜV Süd in Germany to create the safety guidelines, the world's first Hyperloop safety guidelines, and we have presented them to the European Commission, as well as to the DOT in the United States, and many of our partners around the world. We have been working with Munich Re, the largest reinsurance company in the world, and they actually said that they're able to insure our technology, which is a very, very important step when it comes to commercializing the system. You've seen all of these different dots that I had on the map, right? That's very, very important because you need to work with a lot of different governments. It's a problem when you work with governments because they change. Right? One person in power in a couple of years might not be anymore, so you risk that the project gets on hold. So you have to continuously working and make sure that you don't just depend on one. In this case, if you have more irons in the fire, it's literally better. But we're close. So you see, it's been 6 years, and when we started out, a lot of people told us, this is not possible. Well, it is. So this is kind of the answer that we're giving to those people. I think that if someone tells you that it can't be done, it just means that they haven't figured out how to do it. It doesn't mean that you can't figure it out. Sometimes we forget. Sometimes we forget what it means, what a lifetime means, what technology means. We're so used to use our smartphones, fly in airplanes, drive in a car, that if we don't realize that in reality, life just, you know, I think what, 6 years ago there was no Instagram, what would we do with our free time now, right? So life was different, completely different. So we actually made a video. We went and we found, close to our R&D center in Toulouse, one of the oldest women in France. And we made this video, which is my favorite video, and it shows you, and she explains what she has seen in her life change. And I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. It's in French, but it has English subtitles, so enjoy. See? Nope. Let's try again. Nope. I hope it works, because maybe you guys can click on the video. All right, I'm sorry for that. It's a really great video. You can find it online. Unfortunately, I guess it's not working. But it's called Once in a Lifetime. You can find it on our YouTube channel, and it's a great moving video that really shows you how she still remembers where there were no cars, there were no planes, how we landed on the moon. All of this in her lifetime. So I'm excited to see what will happen in my lifetime. And I definitely know Hyperloop will be one of them. So she expects to ride next year inside the Hyperloop in Toulouse, in our R&D center. It's going to take us roughly 3 years in Abu Dhabi once we start construction, so that you and me are able to take the Hyperloop, and of course you all are invited. Thank you so much.
Don't leave us, please. Stay with me a little bit more. Thank you very much. Can I ask you a question? Do you have a Turkish associate partner?
Yeah, we have team members here.
Team members, Turkish team members?
Yes, of course.
Oh, that's a good news, by the way. Let me ask one more question, if it's possible. Istanbul is one of the largest metropole of the world, and lots of people, lots of cars, lots of traffic jam, and lots of traffic problem, as you know, and I think as you see. Do you have a specific solutions for Istanbul's traffic problem?
Well, I think that in general it's not one solution, right? It's making all the different solutions play together. The one thing specifically when it comes to Hyperloop is that you're building something, like often cities and governments are not able to find space in their budget. So this is a technology that is able to maintain itself.
I see.
And that changes a lot. So, you know, if you're able to bring people from outside in and out from the inside out faster, and maybe be in the airport much faster and connect to a different city, you're broadening up the living space. So not everybody needs to be where they are right now. So we would see a little bit less traffic.
I see. What is your next step? What is your team's next step? Let me ask.
So we are now working on finalizing the whole integration. We'll be moving people in Toulouse. And then in Abu Dhabi, we're already in the process to start construction. We know.
And one last question. What is your target? What is your aim?
Well, to change transportation the way we know it and make people live a little bit better.
Very good, very good. To change the transportation. Do you have a timeline for that?
Yes, so again, the biggest hurdle is really to overcome regulation. So we need to work with governments.
I see.
But normally, so 3 years right now in Abu Dhabi, I would say that within the next 5 to 6, you will start seeing more Hyperloop projects around the world.
I see. Thank you very much for answering my question, and thank you for coming.
Thank you.
For this inspiring speech.
Thank you for having me.
I want you to stay a little bit more on the stage for me, please. Şimdi efendim MÜSİAD Başkanımızı davet etmek istiyorum sahneye. Can you follow me please to the center of the stage? Can you please stay right over there? Thank you very much. Evet, MÜSİAD Başkanımız sahnedeler ve bu değerli konuşmacımıza bugünün anısına hediye takdiminde bulunuyorlar.